Hi guys, I'm Leah and I'm your local plant expert here at Jacobs Trading. If you haven't heard of Jacobs Trading, check the description below. We got some information about our online store on our website. It's pretty cool, go check it out. Today in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a basic macrame plant hanger. The tools you're going to need for today's project is a wooden or metal ring, some macrame cord. Today I'm going to be using a 4mm cord. You're also going to need a tape measure, some scissors, and the pot that you're going to use. Using a tape measure, we're going to cut out 8 cords that are about 15 feet in length. These cords here are going to be used to make up the body of your hanging planter. The second thing we're going to do is anchor our wooden or metal ring to something. You can either hang it from a hook on a wall, or you can rig something up like I did here, where I used a broom handle wedged between a table. This is just going to help hold that ring in place. That way when you're working with your cords, they don't get all tangled. To start, I'm going to be taking one set of cord ends here, and we're just going to loop that through this loop. You're then going to pull it all the way down so that it matches the other side of the cord, and pretty much you're going to just fold the cords in half. So you're just going to pull it all the way down until it matches. So now you have 2 sets of cords that are at equal length on either side of this ring. So now we're going to secure the top of our loop here. To do that, we're going to need another length of cord. So we're going to measure about 2 feet for this cord, and it can either be the same color or it could be a different color, whatever you want to do to make your project unique. But we're going to cut out about 2 feet in length, and we're going to then use this to secure the top. Making sure all of your cords are flat to the ring here, we're going to be taking this 2 feet of cord, and you're just going to lay it parallel to the top one here, leaving a little tail at the top here. You're then going to make a loop, so you're going to bring it back up, just like that right there. And you're going to take this longer tail here and you're going to wrap it all the way around all of the cords. So you're going to go all the way, hold them all nice and tight, wrap it all the way around like that. You're then going to keep doing that for about 8 times. You're going to also make sure that you want to keep it nice and tight as you do this, because this is going to hold your strings in. So you're going to keep going all the way around. That's 2 times, 3, 4, 5. You know what? Let's maybe stop at 5 just because I'm running out a little bit of tail here. So let's do 5. But you can do whatever you like at home. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this loose end tail here, and we're actually going to put it through this bottom loop down here. So you're just going to pull that through like that, just so it's through that loop. The next thing you're going to do is take this top loop up here, this top cord, and you're just going to pull it nice and tight, making sure that this one is still through that bottom loop. So you're just going to pull it all the way until it closes like that, and then keep pulling a little more so that it gets tucked in behind those loops that you made. So once you get to that point there, you can then cut both of these ends off and then just tuck them in. So I'll just do that here to show you. So just cut off this excess because you do not need it anymore. And then what I like to do is just poke these ends in just so they're less visible. So just kind of poke those in with your thing. Make sure it's nice and straight and you're good to go. Once your top is complete, what we're going to do is separate our cords into 4 different sections. So you're going to bundle up 4 cords that are somewhat close together, and you're going to just split those up into 4 groups. You're going to want to separate the cords, so you can either do this by just putting them in a different spot, laying them out in different directions, or just creating little bundles. To start the first arm of our hanger, what we're going to do is take one set of these 4 that we separated, and we're going to start by making a square knot. So to do this, we're going to take the 2 outer strings here, and we're going to be working with these guys mostly. So to start, we're going to be taking our left string here, bringing it over, and just making a 4 like that. We're then going to take the right string here, make sure it's over top of that 4, that line there, and then we're just going to bring it to the back, make sure it goes underneath these middle strings right here, and we're then going to pull that loop up through that middle of that 4. So we're just going to pull this guy here, and because we have a lot of string, this might take a bit, but you're just going to pull it all the way through. Until we get it all the way through, and then you have your 2 ends, and all we're going to do is just pull this up nice and tight to the very top, making sure it's nice and snug, so it should look like that. To complete this knot, we are now going to be doing the same thing, but in reverse. So we're going to be working with our right string here first, and we're going to be making a backwards 4. So just like that. We're then going to take our left string and we're going to put it over top of that 4 there, like that. And we're going to weave that in through the back of our 2 bottom strings, just like that. And again, pull that loop up through the top of that 4. And you're just going to pull that whole thing through. So you have that on the other side now. And again, you're just going to tighten it so that it makes it nice and snug at the top. So then your top should look like that. We've now completed both knots to create this box look. So I'm gonna do it again just so that you can see it. So we're gonna start with the left side here. We're gonna make a 4, make sure that right side is over top of that left string there. Bring it underneath those 2 middle cords and pull it through that loop. Pull it all the way through. And then all you're going to do is tighten that back up, back to the top where your other knots are. And then you're going to work it in reverse. So we're going to take this right string, make a 4, take this left string, put it over top, and bring it underneath and through this loop here. Pull it all the way through and all the way up, making it nice and snug. So we now have a total of 4 knots here. And to create this arm of the hanger, we're gonna want 10. So I'm gonna do this process another 6 times. So I've finished my 10 knots here. And if you do happen to lose count throughout this process, all you're gonna do is count these middle lines here that go through. So each one of these lines here is a knot. So that's gonna help you keep track of where you are. We're now gonna do some twisting square knots instead of flat square knots on our hanger to give it a little bit more uniqueness and diversity. So to do this knot, all we're gonna do is pretty much the same thing as the first one, but we're not gonna switch sides. So we're gonna take our left side of our string here, again making that 4. We're gonna take our right side, go underneath like we did before, underneath those 2 middle cords, and up through the middle, just like that. Pull it all the way through, and pull it nice and tight. So pretty much the same thing as we did before. But now, instead of then switching over and working with the right string, we're going to continue doing the same thing with the left string. So again, we're going to be making that same 4, making sure the right string is over top. Again, bring that right string underneath the 2 middle strings and through that loop of the 4 here, pulling it all the way through, and bringing your knot up top. Now once you do a few of these, your pattern is going to start to twist. So you're going to make sure that you just keep going with that twist because that's what's supposed to happen. So just allow that twist to form. That's what you're going to want. So you're going to just keep going for another 10 knots. As you can see here, I have finished my 10 knots now, and it's created this little spiral look. So this is what you want it to look like after that twisted square knot. Now we're going to continue on with our pattern, and the joy of macrame is you can do it however you like. So if you want, you can either continue this twisting pattern all the way down, or you can do what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to actually go back to this square knot that we did at the very start. To switch back to a square knot, all we're going to do is pretty much the same thing. So we're going to make a 4, bring that right string all the way underneath those 2 strings and pull it up through the middle there. So same thing that we've been doing this whole time. But because we're going to do just a normal square knot now, we're going to be working back on that other side. So then you're going to take your right string here, turn it into a 4, take that left string, put it over top of that bottom of the 4, bring it up underneath those 2 cords, and bring it through the middle of the 4 there. So this is going to put it back into that square knot so it's not going to twist at this point down. So I'm going to do this for another 10 times. I've now completed the pattern for our first arm here. So I have 10 square knots, 10 twisting knots, and then another 10 square knots. If you have a lot of excess cord left over, you can add some more. This is great for if you have a larger plant that you want to hang. So the more knots, the larger the plant that you are able to hang. You can either add more square knots or more twisting knots. Really, it's up to you how you want that style to be. But for my plant, I'm just gonna have a small little plant, so I'm just gonna stick to this pattern here. And I'm gonna now continue this exact pattern on these other 3 bundles. Once you've done all 4 arms of your hanger, we're now gonna be working on the net that holds your pot. So what I like to do first is I like to take my pot and just kind of spread the arms around it just so I can gauge where I'm gonna be starting to make this net. So if I look at it here, I'm gonna kind of want the first knot to be roughly like halfway through the pot there. So about 3 inches down is where I'm gonna start making those first knots. To make the connection knots for your basket, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take 2 arms here, and we're gonna take the 4 strings that are connecting these 2. So the 4 outermost strings, we're gonna take these 2, and we're gonna take these 2, and we're gonna work with these guys here. So we're gonna go to about where we gauged our pot, so about 3 inches down, and we're gonna make this first knot. To do this, we're just gonna make a basic square knot. So again, all we're gonna do is just make a 4, wrap that one underneath the strings underneath, and pull it through that top loop of that 4. So you're gonna pull all the way down, and then you're gonna just pull it up to that point that you want for your pot. So about there. Again, we're then gonna do it to the other side here. So we're gonna take that side of the 4, bring our left string down underneath the 2 main strings and up through that 4 there. So the same knot that we were doing beforehand. And you're just gonna bring this one up to meet that first knot. Make sure it's nice and snug, and we're just gonna do that. So once we've done our first connection knot, we're then going to do the rest of them. So again, I'm gonna take these last 2 strings that we left out from this arm here, and I'm gonna connect them to the other 2 strings from another arm. So we're gonna take these 4 strings here, and we're gonna match it up to where this knot is. So again, making a square knot. So again, make a 4, bring that one underneath, and pull through, just like we were doing before. And we're just gonna try matching it up to where that one is. And then again, working with the other side, make that backwards 4, loop it up and underneath and through, and make it nice and snug. Might need to fiddle with it a little bit just so that you have it matching the same one here. So just like that. We're then gonna continue this on for this rest of the strings here. Once you've completed your knots all the way around and they're all relatively on the same height there, you can then test it out on your pot to make sure that they're in a good position. So you're just gonna kind of slide your pot into this net here, place the rim of the pot just at this end of those, and just see where those knots are sitting. So if some are lower than others, you can adjust them a little bit just until you get it to a spot that you like. But this one I think is pretty good for the way that I want it, so we're gonna continue and move on. While your pot is in the basket, you can then gauge where you're gonna make that next set of connection lines. So again, we're gonna take 1 set from this side and 1 set of knots from this side, and we're gonna join those 2 eventually with a knot. But for right now, I'm just gonna kind of figure out how much length I'm gonna want to tie that knot. So I'm gonna go about to there. I like to remove the pot just to make it a little bit easier to work with, but we're gonna continue making another connection knot about another 2 or 3 inches down. And we're gonna just do the exact same thing as we did before, each with each side. So another 4, wrap that around, make a knot there. Again, a reverse 4, wrap that around, and make a knot. So you're gonna do this again all the way around, connecting the rest of the strings together. Once you finish those last connection knots, you can then pop your pot back into that basket and just see where those knots sit. If some are a little funky or a little weird, you can then adjust them so that they are in a better position. We're now gonna cut off another 2 feet in length of our blue cord here. So like we did with the top, we're also gonna be finishing the bottom off with the same type of knot. So what we're gonna do is just take all of these excess cords and kind of just place them in a bundle underneath the pot like that. And you're gonna make sure that your pot is still sitting at a good level. So kind of make sure that it sits the way you want it to, and remember where you have that bundle. So to make the finishing knot, we're going to make sure all of the cords are even and nicely in this bundle. And we're gonna take our blue cord here, just like we did at the top. We're gonna leave it parallel like that with a little bit of a tail at the top. We're then going to make a loop like we did. And taking this longer piece, we're gonna take this and wrap it all the way around all of those cords here. So you're gonna wrap it all the way around and continue to do so for about 5 loops. You're gonna make sure you're going to pull this nice and snug. So you're just gonna keep wrapping it around. That's 3, 4, and 5. So make sure it's nice and tight, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this long tail here. We're just gonna put it through that loop at the bottom like that. And then we're gonna pull this top loop again. So that's gonna close our bottom loop, and then keep pulling, pull nice and tight so that it gets tucked in behind like that. And then all you need to do is just cut these tails here. So I've cut my cords here and I've tucked them in like we did at the very start. And now what we're gonna do is finish off this fringe here. So we're just gonna cut this, and you can cut it to however length you want. You can either cut it very long or very short. It's 100% up to you. You can also cut it in a different way. So you can either cut it just straight across here, or you can cut them at different lengths. Really, it's up to you how you want it to look, but for this one here, I'm gonna cut it probably about there. So I have a little bit of a good fringe. So all I'm gonna do is just cut all of these guys here, like that. Finally, you can fluff up your fringe to give it a more finished look. Here we have our finished hanger that is ready for your plant. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed making a macrame plant hanger with me today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We're putting out new videos every week. Stay in bloom and get crafty.